Hey everyone. For those of you that I haven't met yet personally, my name is Kristen Vlahos. I'm the U15 to U19 Girls Director, and currently at the moment I have a newborn on my shoulder, so I will keep it brief so you don't have to hear a baby crying this whole time as well. But thank you guys all so much for joining. If you've been on one of these in the past, you kind of know a little bit about what it entails, but we are very, very excited to work with Heather and H2 Advising this year to provide a little bit more detail and in depth into the recruiting process than maybe we have in years past. I mean, as you can see, if you've looked at her resume or anything like that, Heather has unbelievable experience in this department, over 30 years of college coaching, and a number of other resources where she will be invaluable to us. So I just want to make sure that you understand that this is a great partnership. We are working side by side. This isn't something where you need to feel like you're going through the process alone. We're going to do everything we can to put as much resources at your disposal as possible. And so tonight's kind of step one in that, and is that here's some basic information. For some of you guys, this will simply be review. You kind of know everything we'll go through tonight. But certainly for others of you, it's a good introduction, a good starting place that hopefully then between myself, your club coach, and Heather, we can kind of help you guys navigate this process. And she's starting to wake up a little bit. So Heather, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you, Kristen. And thank you for being on and your little one. We are so excited. We're all excited to meet her when y'all are back out on the field. So thank you. So everyone, we want to, we have a poll that we're going to post, and we want you we want to find out who's here, who's in attendance. So please answer the question, what year do you graduate from high school? Or what year does your daughter, if she's not on this call with us, does she graduate from high school? Just for us to get a gauge and an idea of who is here, so that we can give you an overall view. So tonight, it's going to be kind of an overall basics, recruiting basics, as we talked about, and it's going to walk through a large portion of it with some definitions and things like that. And then, as I said, we will in the future continue to have other webinars that are more in depth with some specific topics. And they could be emails. It could be specific to what do you do prior, during, and post a tournament, to your event, attending a showcase, and how do you reach out pre, during, and post for with a college coach. So we're going to go into, TSC, you have such a history of young ladies attending some great women's soccer college programs. And just wanted to put an overview and a map of some of those locations, right, of people. Now, if you're looking at a state that, doesn't have one yet, and that's a college that you want to attend, man, you could have the first little logo in that new state. So this is just what has been, and we are excited for you to take your journey and see where your college program will be, where you're going to land. Here's some people that some of you may know or have heard of, or maybe even gotten the opportunity to watch play in person at the club level or the college level. So we're so excited to give you some of the history of some of these young ladies. And I think one important thing that, as I've talked with the directors of coaching at TSC, they want to reiterate this along with myself, is that you do not have to be an ECNL player to find the right college soccer program. You can play at any of the TSC programs, right? So college soccer is for all of us, and there's an opportunity out there for each of you. If you want to play, it can happen. So Kate Devine, right? She's at Vanderbilt, and she's having some great success. Anna Haddock, if you don't follow her on social media, you get to see all her reels of all of her goals being scored. And Nora Henderson. Nora Henderson is in her sophomore year at Indiana State. And so these are some great young ladies. Again, if you haven't watched them play, make sure you watch them now while they're playing in college. If you know them, ask them questions about the college process. What we want to dive into is the divisions, right? So I want you to notice that the NCAA, there's 3 different divisions. There's 1, 2, and 3. Typically, they are separated by philosophy and size. Now, you may have a few Division I programs that are smaller in size, even though traditionally that's a Division II or Division III. So it's not guaranteed, but most large campuses, when you're thinking Power Five, right? You're thinking 30 and 60,000 people, that's usually Division I program. And then the philosophy of what it really means for the experience of a student athlete, the time demands, the academics, all of those. So that's where it starts to separate itself. But ultimately, if you decide you want to play college soccer, I want you to know that TSC and myself, we truly believe there's a place for you. I've told recruits for many, many years that I truly believe there's at least 20 to 25, maybe even 30 schools out there that are right. It's just a matter of how much time, money, effort, and energy do you have to visit all of those? And you probably don't, right? So we have to do the legwork to decide which schools to go visit. So want to give you a snapshot. As you can see, again, Division I, II, and III, NAIA, and then junior college has Division I and II. These are the number of programs that are offered within each of these divisions and the maximum number of athletic scholarships that are available. Now, what I want to talk about with this is that let's use the Division I for a second. So the maximum number of athletic scholarships is 14. That is 14 for every freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, the entire group of 4 classes. And right now with COVID, the super senior class, all in one. It's not 14 for each class, and it's not 14 each year. It's a total. So the way you decide on that, let's say a school costs $50,000 to go to school. You do 14 scholarships times $50,000. That's the total dollars in athletic scholarships they have to offer. Soccer is an equivalency sport. It's not a head count sport. Okay. So that coach can break it up into different percentages, right? Could offer you 20%, could offer you books, could offer you 50%, could offer you 75. On a rare occasion, could offer you a full scholarship. But please understand, that's a rare occasion. When you have these maximum number of scholarships, please also understand that the university and sometimes the conference will decide, are you going to get, let's say Division II, 9.9 athletic scholarships for women's soccer? There may be a Division II school or a Division II conference that says, no, we're not going to, our maximum number that we're going to offer is 9. And so then it's 9 times that cost to that school. And so the schools and the conferences have the ability to choose to go lower in their maximum of what they're willing to offer. So how do you find out? You ask questions. Okay, those are fair questions to ask. You can see, for example, at the Division III level, it has there are no athletic scholarships. That is correct. There are no athletic scholarships, but there is a lot of academic scholarships that are available at the Division III level. And I have seen young ladies attend a Division III school and earn quite a bit of academic scholarship, but have been offered, let's say, at a Division I school. But that athletic offer and what they would have had to pay at the Division I school is more. So they chose to go to the Division III school where their cost of school ultimately was less. They paid less to go, and their experience was an unbelievable experience. So this is a lot of different factors that go into it, but I wanted you to know how many scholarships are available at each division. Other important factors about the divisions, things you really need to consider as you're beginning to build your list. What's your intended major? Do they have required or optional individual workouts? Can you study abroad? What are internships? When are you allowed to do those? What does your summer look like in terms of any requirements or demands from the university or athletics? Extracurriculars, what are you allowed to do? What are the travel requirements, fall and spring? And then resources. I think as a whole, a resource could be athletic department resources, academic resources, and university resources, right? So resources is a really big umbrella under each of those elements. Another consideration I really find important is your time management. So let's base the activities, the hours spent on activities for 1 week, 168 hours in a week. you can see at the Division 1, 2, and 3 level, when you're thinking of the other, that is sleep, job, extracurricular activities. They're all about the same, right? There's a 0.5 difference. Socializing, right? Socializing with teammates and friends, that's about the same as well in terms of hours spent. You start to see a separation when you get to academics and athletics. So the question is, why? Why is there a difference? Why is there beginning to have a separation? Well, what takes up the most time for Division 1 and Division 2? For student athletes, right? Every single level, every single division, they have practice, they have competition. Most of them nowadays are also going to have a strength and conditioning, and that's part of your practice, right? It may be in conjunction with practice or at a separate time. What begins to happen at Division 1 and 2 is there's supplemental workouts, right? Are those individual or small group workouts? Maybe the center mids are going to come out and really work on, they're switching the point of attack. The film review, could it be a team film review? Or do you have team and then later the goalkeepers may be pulled out separately to do goalkeeping, right? And really do film review on that. And so those are some of the different time demands that come up at the Division 1 and 2 level. So you see with the percentages, right? Percentage of student athletes who say they spend as much time or more on athletics during their off season as compared to their competitive season. So the NCAA defines your spring season in college as your off season. As a former college coach, it's your training season. Your fall is your championship season for me, and your spring is your training season. But you can see 67% of the Division 1 student athletes feel that they spend as much, if not more time in their off season in the athletics realm. As compared to at the Division 3 level, you see that 47% feel that. And again, within that, usually the biggest difference is for Division 3. They have some different rules for 1, 2, and 3 on what are their time demands and what does their spring, how are they allowed to structure their springtime training? And so those are very good questions to find out as you're speaking with these schools. So tonight we're going to go over some terms you need to know to really make sure that you are understanding the vocabulary and the words that are being used. Okay. So a prospective student athlete, a PSA, is a student who has entered classes in the 9th grade. So the moment you start your 9th grade classes, which some of you already have, right? Just about a month into it. And now your classes start working towards your core classes, your core GPA. Okay. And you are now considered a PSA. So now you fall under the recruiting rules. The NCAA and NAIA both have the NCAA has a national letter of intent. The NAIA and Division 3 have what they call is kind of a letter of commitment or a celebratory form. Okay. So at Division 1 and 2, you sign a national letter of intent that indicates the student athlete's commitment to participate at that college or university in their athletics program. And that's a binding commitment for the year. Division 3 does not sign it, but they have a celebratory form. So on signing day, no matter which level school you go to, which division, you still have some type of letter where you can sign at your high school or at your club with all of your friends. The NAIA, again, does not have a binding agreement, but some of the NAIA conferences do recognize the signed NLI. So just to be aware of that. And then I don't want you to be confused with NIL. The NIL stands for name, image, and likeness. So where have you heard that? If you are on Instagram, if you're watching ESPN, it's student athletes who are sponsors and getting paid to advertise with different companies. So name, image, and likeness. That'll be a later conversation in one of our other webinars, but that is different from National Letter of Intent. The Eligibility Center. First and foremost, the Eligibility Center does exist in both the NCAA and NAIA. Okay, so the NCAA has the Eligibility Center, and it is to make sure they're certifying whether a PSA, right, is eligible to play sports at the Division 1 or 2 level. They do this by reviewing the student athlete's academic records, their core courses, amateur status, to ultimately conform to make sure that they follow and are under the NCAA rules. This standardized part where it's bolded, this is a new ruling. So the NCAA has taken out the requirement of having standardized test scores. The standardized test scores are no longer needed to certify your initial eligibility through the NCAA. It does not mean that you don't have to take your tests, your SAT or ACT. You put your colleges that you're looking at still may need it for admissions. You need to ask that, or possibly to earn academic scholarships, they may need that. So you need to ask the schools about the admissions and academic scholarships if that standardized test score is needed. Two categories that you could fall into with your eligibility at the NCAA level is a qualifier, which means you do meet academic requirements and you are eligible to practice, compete, and receive aid during the first full year of enrollment. A non-qualifier would mean that you're not able to practice, compete, or receive athletic aid during your first year. So you can go ahead and register with the NCAA Eligibility Center and start that process. We'll talk a little bit more later. Again, the NAIA has a website, and every athlete must register with the Eligibility Center to be able to play. So you have to do that. Unofficial visits. Unofficial visits is when the university that you are going to visit does not pay for any of the expenses. For instance, you travel to University A and a college coach is not going to pay for your plane flight or your hotel or your mileage if you're driving. However, at the Division I and II level, they can provide complimentary admissions tickets for a home contest. There's a different number of complimentary tickets that they can provide at each of those divisions, but they can provide that, and that is still considered an unofficial visit. You are allowed to take unlimited number of unofficial visits, except during a dead period. And then for Division I, we will go through a calendar later with more dates, but for Division I, it's the August 1 of your junior year is the first time you can begin taking unofficial visits. And you can take it from August 1 of your junior year through graduation of your senior year. Official visits is when the college coach is paying for any part of the expenses of your visit. If they're paying for transportation, meals, anything like that. So anything that they pay for your visit becomes an official visit. And there become more forms and documentation and paperwork that must be done. So when a coach talks about making a visit, it's okay to ask unofficial or official, just to be on the same page. One difference, the Division I is in red because there's a new ruling that now Division I is along with Division II, III, and NAIA, where you have unlimited number of official visits that you can take to those schools, but you can only take one per college. So you're going back to college A, right? You can take one official visit to college A in your, let's say, junior year. But in your senior year, you've already committed, you want to go back, you need to make an unofficial visit then in your senior year because you're only allowed one per college. But again, it is unlimited. You could visit 10 different schools on official visits, okay? A dead period does exist in women's soccer. A college coach may not have face-to-face contact with a PSA or their parents, and they may not watch them compete during a dead period. What a coach can do is write, text, phone call, talk with a PSA or their parents during the period. So you still can have communication, just not face-to-face communication. The women's soccer in Division I has two different dead periods, one surrounding the signing date. So this year it's November 6th through 9th. And they also, Division I has a dead period, December 15th through January 5th. That is for Division I only. So make sure you ask the question, Do you have a dead period, and what are those dates if you're looking at 2 or 3 or NAI? We want to give you a sample of the recruiting timeline. And so I want to pause here and make sure you all understand you are on your own individual journey as a student athlete, as a family, to find your college soccer program. And so your journey may look different than every other teammate that you have in your high school team or your club team. And that's okay. It may be similar in some ways, or it may be completely different, but it's your journey and it's you finding your right school. Okay. So for freshmen, right, some people say freshmen don't need to do everything. Some freshmen and families, I know we have some on this call, are very worried about how do we get started? Well, first and foremost, you can do is you start strong academically, because again, your core GPA begins the first day of school. And so be aware that your grades in class now will impact, hopefully positively, impact your eligibility and ability to play your freshman year in college. So focus on your grades. Make sure you're studying, you have good study habits, and you're finding time, because now you're playing high school and you're trying to also get your classes in, right? And do your homework and get all those things done. Spend time on player development, right? That could be staying after practice. That could be going out on Saturday and Sunday when you don't have any games, and just getting some extra training in. Talking with your club coach, your high school coach, asking them for honest feedback and asking them where they see your strengths are and where they think you should improve your game. As you're driving to on vacation, you're driving to maybe showcases or tournaments, drive by schools. All you got to do is take a drive through campus, maybe a little detour. And you know what? You're going to maybe add some schools to your list that way, or you may take them off. But that's a good way to start to build that list if you like that certain type of setting, right? And that's going to help you find that out. So if you don't know, do those things to find out. Another thing, you want to play college soccer, go watch college soccer in person. Yes, the great thing is TV, you can watch college games all the time, and I love it. You can watch women's soccer all the time. You can watch them live streamed, you can watch them recorded, and watch that. But make time to go watch them in person, because the speed of play is different in person than on camera. And so make time. You have a lot of different women's soccer programs around here in this area and a lot of different divisions. Take advantage of that to begin to find out what level, what division, what part of the city, what are you looking for, what style of play. Educate yourself. Get on recruiting webinars like this. Find and search for information, right? And you're going to have to begin to decipher what is rumor and what is educational content, right? And it's okay to ask questions. And one of the things I find most important is really developing your life skills, communication. Parents, help your young daughters begin to communicate with their teachers, their high school coaches, and their club coaches. Ask questions. Have your daughters ask questions, ask for help, have conversation. The more they can do that with those areas, their teacher, both of their coaches, high school and club, that will pay off dividends by the time you're able to have that conversation with potential college coaches. In your sophomore year, right? You see it's a little bit more, begin to make that list. I truly believe you need to make a list of 20 to 30 schools. You want to make that list larger rather than smaller. If you put 5 schools on there and 3 of them don't need your position in that graduation year, now you're down to 2 really quick. Put a variety of divisions, a variety of locations, right? To really kind of broaden what is that school, that interest of schools. What's that look like? Register with the NCAA and NAIA eligibility. You can do that in your freshman year, because if you get it done your freshman year, you just have to update it later on. So you could even do that your freshman year and not wait for your sophomore year. So if you're anxious to get started, that's okay. Move that to your freshman year. But I would recommend when you register for the NCAA that you just you register for the free version, because as a Division III athlete, if you choose Division III, you don't need to enter the paid version of the eligibility center for NCAA. Once you decide you want to play and you're going to play Division I or II, then you can upgrade it to the paid version. It's $100. So if you don't know right now, don't pay the $100. And again, I would recommend going ahead and scheduling your ACT and SAT. School counselors don't make you do it until your junior year, but as a student athlete, these are questions college coaches are going to ask. And these are opportunities to look and see about academic scholarships. So go ahead and take it your sophomore year. That way you're not rushed later on. Begin to reach out to schools. Again, we'll show you a grid later that gives you when they can contact you back, but begin to let them know what showcases you're attending, maybe that you want to attend their ID camp or that you're going to attend their ID camp. So begin to reach out. Just know that they might not be able to contact you back at the division. They can't contact you back at the Division I or II until June 15th after your sophomore year. And then junior year, right? Now you've started contact with your college, the potential colleges you're looking at. The conversation is going back and forth. There should be more than emails. You should be getting on the phone, meeting with coaches, taking text messages and phone calls, making or setting and making unofficial and official visits. Again, attending their games throughout the year. Their fall is championship season. Their spring, they still play matches. They just don't play as many, but you can go watch a spring match. I think it's a really great way. Again, at this point, if you need to retake the ACT or SAT, go ahead, sign up and take it. Don't wait for your senior year to cram all that in there. Begin to review your academic requirements with the NCAA Eligibility Center. And then again, begin to educate yourself on non-athletic scholarship information. Because again, some colleges can combine academic and athletic together, and we want you to find out that as you're moving through this. And then in your senior year, some of you will need to move some of the senior stuff over to your junior year, but at the very least, you already have your school. Now you are applying to universities, applying for non-athletic scholarships, right? Final retake of your test score if you need it, taking those official visits and unofficial visits if you need it to make that final decision. When I put on here a list of schools, add and subtract, right? That comes as you're learning more about schools. And so that's where you'll add some, you'll take some off. Some schools will take you off because they don't need your position for that year. And then FAFSA, the FAFSA form. Parents, this is something that you can complete. This year, it is opening up in December. It has been October. Now they have pushed it back a couple months. So make sure you're aware of now moving forward, it will be December. And then post-commitment, post-signing, even if you've committed in your junior year or your senior year, the prep work now begins, right? Celebrate the fact that you've committed. Post that on Instagram, celebrate that. Awesome. Do your signing with your high schools or your club. But now the real work begins to make sure you're coming in as a college freshman, prepared and ready to play college soccer and the academic rigors. All right. So to get to that point, how and where do I start my recruiting process? I truly believe that there are some key areas that you need to focus on, right? And first, your education, your relation, and your athletic experiences are all so important to helping you decide where you want to go. Having your why do you want to play college soccer and why is this type of college and university the one you're looking for? You're looking for a great experience, a great education, great relationships, and your great experience within your athletic career. So you want to think about this, right? Nobody likes to, but you have to. If you get injured, would you be happy at the schools that you are looking at? Would you still go to school there and be happy attending school if you could not play soccer? You need to ask yourself that question. Nobody wants to think about the bad, but it'll help you to know and navigate should they stay on your list or not. Other key focuses, academics. Does it have the majors that you're looking at? Size of school, right? What's the community feel? Location, what part of the country? The proximity to home. The finances, what's the cost of school and what can your family afford? And then, of course, athletics, right? The athletics program, the culture, the commitment, development of the program, all of those things that are important in terms of how do you find out the deeper levels of the athletic program for more than just what you see on Instagram and what you see on the field. So the soccer fit and timeline, right? I think honestly, I would agree. This is arguably the hardest part of the process. But I think if you are focused on what I call your North Star or your why do I want to go play college soccer? And why am I looking at a university that has A, B, and C elements, right? That's going to keep you focused to know where you want to fit. And so you can see this, right? As impact players, core players, and depth players. Sometimes depth players just maybe you're a freshman and you have to grow into the system, and then you can build into a core player. Okay. So understand that the development also exists through your 4 years of college soccer. So my example here, college A, B, C, and D. Let's just say they're all Division One level, but see how you can find yourself at each of these different levels within those three different levels of player of roles. So you got to find the one that fits you, not that fits your teammate next to you, not what you're hearing the team wants, right? But what fits you. So I want to go into some examples of some intro emails, right? Some introductory emails. Most importantly, how you represent yourself, right, to your college coach is very important. So, example, this is an intro email that basically it's saying, hey, I have a showcase coming up, but you want to personalize it. You want to make sure that you are reaching out to college A and you're indicating your interest, but personalize it to Coach Smith. I have looked at your program. I've looked into it. I see that you're successful in the field, or you're building a program because you're new to the university. It has the academic program I'm looking at, right? You're personalizing it to what they have. Okay. You're including all the coaches on the email. So if you send it to the head coach, is he the recruiting coordinator? Is she the recruiting coordinator? Right? Include all of the coaches on there. And then you can find out from the response, there's probably a recruiting coordinator or a lead coach that will be the one who's reaching out to you to and from. Okay. You don't know what's happening, right? With their lives and how busy they are. So that's why reach out to all coaches all the time. Of course, put your grad year, put your club, right? What team are you on? What your jersey number, position, put your academic piece, right? What's your GPA? Let them know of your upcoming tournament that's coming. If you have any video, it's optional, but it's never going to hurt you, right? Because you're putting your best clips first. So attach a video, links to videos that you have. Of course, put the ways that they can respond back to you. Put your email and your cell phone, right? So these are things that you need to include in each of your emails. A follow-up email from that example of, I'm going to this showcase. Now the showcase has happened. Again, you want to personalize it. You want to ask them for feedback. Thank you for coming to watch my tournament. I really appreciate the time that you came, and I would love to get feedback from you on my play, right? Most of your teams, especially the club teams, when they go to tournaments, they're handing out brochures, and college coaches, we're getting names of the college coaches that attended. So you can get those lists from your managers, and then you'll have a list of the schools that you wrote, plus potentially maybe 2 or 3 new colleges that you didn't even think about that were at the game. But ask for feedback, right? Ask a few questions maybe about their program in that email. Definitely put your club coach's contact information. You can also put your high school, right? I think that you give them resources and your coaches to contact. These are coaches who know you and see you and are around you. They can give some great feedback on you as a person, you as a soccer player, you as your character in terms of just how organized and committed you are. There's so many things that good club and high school coaches can provide in helping showcase you and letting you shine. Okay. And then of course, any updates, upcoming schedules, academics, athletics, any new things. The key here is that you just don't send one follow-up. At that point, then you begin just emailing. So you're building email conversations, right? So it's not one initial email, one follow-up, and then nothing for 6 months. You have to start the conversation. All right, so here's an example of the TSC player profile. We want you to shine. TSC is a great club, and we have seen how many young ladies they have helped go to play college soccer. We want to help you do that. And this template is a great form. It allows you to showcase that you are in the TSC soccer club and really allows them to acknowledge and connect you with a really successful club across the country. Attach put any important details you can see from high school to club, and put your references on there. Attach this to your email because you don't want to have to write sentences with all of this. That just makes your email too long. And really, as a former college coach, it becomes too long to read. So attach this so that your email can be very personalized. Social media. Social media does matter. Simple enough. This could be the first interaction a college coach has with you, right? This social media account really reflects who you are and your character. It can be one snapshot. And so we don't want one bad moment to potentially cost you hundreds of $1,000s in scholarship opportunities. These are some examples of where that's happened and where that's been posted, how coaches had to stop recruiting or unfollow because it just wasn't a good fit. Okay, so think before you post. Before you push that button, think about it and show the true you and show all aspects of you, right? Not just one moment that gets lost before you thought. All right, recruiting material. All right, we're going to go through this pretty quick because I have a grid that's going to kind of condense it for you. So this is for Division I, recruiting materials. Okay, so right now you may be receiving camp brochures, questionnaires, NCAA material, and non-athletic recruiting publications at any time. Okay, so if you are a freshman right now, you can receive all of that. If you, a coach may begin sending recruiting material and electronic correspondence June 15th after your sophomore year. So between your sophomore and junior year. Okay. Phone calls to and from the coach. So the conversation on the phone can begin and through text can begin June 15th after your sophomore year. Off-campus contacts. A college coach may have contact with you and your family off the college campuses beginning August 1st of your junior year. Then unofficial visits, right? Remember, that's when you're paying for your expenses. August 1 is when they can begin of your junior year. And then official visits, the college pays for part or all of the expenses, can begin August 1 of your junior year. Division 2, same thing in terms of each of these recruiting materials, phone calls. So you can see these dates. Division 2 is June 15th for recruiting materials, for phone calls, for off-campus visits, or off-campus contacts, excuse me, right? And for official visits. Unofficial can be done at any time except during a dead period. Division 3. You can see it's a little more open. You see a lot of any times here, right? You can receive recruiting material anytime. Phone calls to and from a coach anytime. Off-campus contact after your sophomore year. Official visits, or excuse me, unofficial anytime. And then official visits, you see January 1. This is the most important slide I think you could use. If you want to take a picture of this, that way you have it on your phone, and you can always refer back to it. So this is, for me, an easier way to see it. You know when each of these things can happen, and you have the dates or any time. So you know what college can be communicating with you at what time. It even also has when can verbal scholarship offers be made. Okay. All right. So possible questions to ask on a visit. I'm also going to lead with, these are also possible questions you can ask on a phone call. Okay. But the most important thing about a visit is the preparation time before you meet the coach. So have the questions prepared ahead of time, right? Because you're learning so much and you're hearing so much. You may have had great questions, but you don't remember them because you're trying to absorb and listen to everything they're telling you. So have some questions already made. These are some that can just get you started, right? These are questions that through the years, Kristen and I have both heard from PSAs, right? Big ones are, what's a typical week? What are the majors that your current players are in? You know, Nursing is one that some schools will allow you to do it and some will not, or some athletic departments and soccer programs will allow you to and some won't, just because of the demands of the program or how the university or athletic department or soccer program is set up. So if those, if you know what you want to major in, or you have two different options, ask, can it happen, right? Can I major in foreign language? Can I major in education because I have student teaching? And then questions, right? How often does the team travel? What does that look like? How many do you travel with? Here's a great question. I had a conversation with a student athlete, and a question came about was, how many do you dress for home games? Now, most people are going to think that they can dress for a home game no matter what. But again, coaches have their own philosophies and have their own criteria that they do. So that's not only how do you make the travel squad, it's also how many do you dress out for home games? Is it everybody? Is it a limited number? And so, again, no question is a bad question. Please ask the questions. Now, I want to thank you very much for the time that you've done this. You've listened. As I said, this webinar is really an overview and really some definitions and timeframes. We are going to do more webinars with this partnership with TSC and H2 Athletic Advising. Again, we will hit on communication skills, how to put a highlight film together, how to prepare pre, during, and post a tournament, to connect with college coaches. So there'll be a lot of different elements, different webinars that we will do. And so keep an eye out on those and as we move forward so that you can be on the next sessions. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about H2 Athletic Advising. The program that I have that is in addition to what we're doing to TSC, you have the ability to, if you come on board with me, we have personalized programs and they are built for each client's needs, the number of sessions, the items that we focus on. It's typically done in a 3-part phase. We analyze like your why, what's your North Star? Where do you want to go? What do you think you want to major in? What size school? What division? What is the experience in those realms, academically, athletically, community? What are your experiences? What do you want out of it, right? We will help build your list of schools for that 20 to 30 schools. Through the process, then we have our North Star, we have our why. That's going to drive us through this. We're going to continue to educate families. We will do it on these webinars, but again, you'll have one-on-one attention with questions. So we're going to educate the student athlete. We're also going to educate the parents. Parents, there are do's and don'ts. There are do's. I want you to hear me say that. There are don'ts, but when do you do which one? And I can help you through that. And then ultimately, this whole process is really to empower our student athletes to take action and ownership of their recruiting journey. Because ultimately, we want to be a part of this journey and help you find the right college soccer program. Your daughter wants to have an unbelievable experience, and you want her to find that right school where she has so much fun, and it is the best experience on and off the field. And we have to remember it's her journey. We're just going to help her keep moving forward through it. Here's a list of some of the services that I do provide. As you can tell earlier, I talked about communication skills. I think that's a really big one, right? We're not snapping and just DMing college coaches. We are emailing them, texting them, having phone calls, then getting on campus and having face-to-face. And then ultimately, these communication skills that we develop, now we're having conversations when I'm a freshman through a senior in college and I'm talking to my coach. Right? These are important life skills that we will go through. We do mock phone calls to help prepare you, right? We'll help you set up a form to help keep you organized through the recruiting process. As you begin communication interaction, we'll help you decide to decipher what's a college coach really saying when they're inviting you to a camp, right? Are they inviting you to a camp because you're just in the database, or are they inviting you to a camp because there's been some conversation back and forth and they've watched you play and they've given you feedback? So kind of help you walk through that. And then I've even helped young ladies and their families. How do I know when to commit to my school? Right. So I'm here through the whole process if you want me. And it's a great way to really just have another layer of education and a person who can really just walk alongside this journey with you. So what I want to do is I want to offer, I provide free 30-minute consultations, and then we find out, what are your needs? What are you looking for, right? Once you sign on, these sessions are personalized one-on-one consulting. They are usually 60 minutes each. They're usually set up monthly, but depending on where you're in the process, you might need to meet more often, or you may be able to go every month and a half or two if you're younger, right? If you're a senior and you're moving along fast, or a junior, then maybe we do it every 2 or 3 weeks. So again, it's personalized, but we have one-on-one 60-minute virtual meetings where we're, again, helping you track and find that right college soccer program for you. So you can go to my website. You can book a free consultation there. You can follow me on Instagram. I would love it. That would be great, because I would I'd love to find out where you're going. I'd love to be a part of this journey with you and help answer any questions that you have. All right. We are ending the program, at least in terms of the presentation. So I want to be able to answer any questions that you have, right? And again, I want to reiterate, we're going to have different webinars on different topics. So we just wanted to start tonight with a basic overall definitions, timelines to get you started. And we want to dive deeper in as we go. You will continue to get emails to register for those as they come forward. Let me read a couple questions and then I will answer these. Hold on one second. So great question. If you are doing, let's say the question is, if I am a sophomore and I've sent an initial email out, when I do my follow-up, I can't ask for feedback because they can't respond. That is correct. That is correct. But I can tell you what I used to do, and probably quite a few other college coaches. We can't provide you feedback. I'm attending this showcase. I would love for you to come. Then your follow-up, thank you for attending. I saw that you were on the list of schools that attended. I know I can't get feedback from you, but I do want to stay in contact with you. I'll continue to send more information for my upcoming tournaments, my upcoming events. That's what you can say. Most college coaches will probably send you a link or an email inviting you to one of their ID camps. They may send you a link to fill out the PSA questionnaire that is online. And so those are, right, some of the things that they can send out. And if you do have questions for camp, right, you can ask them a question about attending their camp, but you can't ask them a recruiting question about their camp, right? And so you are correct. During your sophomore year, you cannot get a response for the feedback prior to June 15th, but they can send you an email that says, due to NCAA rules, we cannot have recruiting contact, but here's our camp information. So that's just a way to know that they hear you and you are being seen. Okay, that's a really great question. Okay, so another question, again, it actually goes along with what's the start date for communication for Division I and II? It is June 15th after your sophomore year. A question about the eligibility center, the NCAA. Yes, you can initially sign up for the paid version. It is $100, but quite honestly, if you are a freshman or sophomore, sign up for the free one until you have started receiving communication back from college coaches, and now your path is a little bit more clear. Then you can upgrade it to the paid version of the clearinghouse. What is the percentage of full ride scholarships given for each year per division? Per division, I'm sorry, I do not have the answer right in front of me, but I will say as a whole, full rides, maybe. Well, I would tell you 2% of student athletes earn an athletic scholarship each year. So then drop that even less. I know that when I was a college coach, I didn't have a freshman every year coming in on a full ride. I had special players that came in, and there were probably a handful, maybe 2 handfuls, maybe in my 28 years, maybe 10, but I think it was less than that. So it is a full ride when you're talking full ride athletic scholarship. Okay. And please understand the difference. Honestly, you want to try to find as much scholarship as you can and ask the colleges, can they stack academic, athletic, other university scholarships or grant and aids to try to put a package together. So I think what I would encourage you, think about not a full ride athletic scholarship, think how can I get the largest combined scholarship package, right? Because with scholarships, you don't have to pay those back like you do loans. Okay, that's a really great question. And it's one of the myths that are going around that, oh, full rides are always out there. They're not. They are not. I don't want to be pushy and in sending emails to all of the coaches. I get that. Totally understand that. But let me give you an example. One of my friends who actually is coaching cross country as a head coach, he just had a medical procedure 2 weeks ago, and he's going to be out, and they're in cross country season right now. And so he's going to be out for at least a month. So if you're right, so if a cross country student athlete is reaching out to him, he's not responding, right? He's trying to forward it, but he's got to deal with his health right now. And so please understand that that's why you want to send the email to all of the coaches designated on that list. And then they may direct you, hey, respond to my associate head coach. He's in charge of, he's my recruiting coordinator, right? But you're not being pushy. You're just trying to get your name out there and in their head. Any stats for Division 1, 2, 3 NIL participation? You're talking about name, image, and likeness. Has everyone asked the best question I can think of? Yeah, when it comes to NIL, I'm going to tell you that it's so new that they don't even have statistics yet on it because they don't have enough trends to really do it. They haven't even had time to build a survey. And so, but I can tell you, I was at, my schools were at a mid-major. My last one, I was a mid-major. And I had one young lady who did a lot of things on TikTok. And so she was well known. So she had a few smaller deals, but most of my players didn't. Right. And so you're going to hear a lot about football players and basketball players. Like this is just reality right now. Right. That's where it's going to go first. It doesn't mean that men and women soccer players won't. It's just right now, NIL is so new and these companies are aiming towards that. More so in those sports because those are those top tier sports that you're seeing mostly on TV. And so I do not have any stats on it, but the NCAA doesn't either. I think the most important thing I would ask you or have you be aware of is if that starts to be a real option, you need to contact your state, your high school, and the colleges that you're talking with to make sure that you can do it as a student athlete. That what are the rules being allowed to do and how is it set up at their school? Because every school is going to set it up differently. Okay. Let's see. How do I know what level to pursue? It's a great question. How do I know what level to pursue in college? Ask your coaches, ask your club coaches, ask your high school coaches, ask for honest, genuine feedback. And parents and student athletes be willing to hear the honest, genuine feedback, right? You may think that this is the level you can play at, and your coaches say, yeah, I think you can play Division 1, but maybe not a Power 5, right? But it also goes, so ask for that feedback. And then also you need to ask yourself, what do I want? Do I want to play right away? Am I willing to sit on the bench and grow and develop for a couple years, right? So you need to ask some of those questions, but ask honest feedback of your coaches. They will help you if you are willing to hear honest answers. All right, we are almost closing out. I'm going to give you, let's see, one more question. How how do I know when it's time for my child to commit, right? How do I know? Quite honestly, I think that's going to come. Everyone is different, right? And you've gone through the process. You have talked with the coaches multiple times. You have probably at least visited their campus through a visit, camps. I would say at least twice, probably, because you probably attended a camp. You've probably gone on at least one visit, if it's official or unofficial, right? You've had multiple conversations. You've been willing to talk about academic and athletic scholarships. So it kind of gets to that point that all the answers are being answered, all the questions are being answered, and you're feeling good with it, right? And the timeline for you and the coach meet in that timeline of when decisions to be made, as well as are they recruiting your position, right? So everyone is different when it comes time for that commitment. But that's something that if you would like more advice and guidance and insight, feel free to reach out to me, and I can help you. Kristen can help you through that, so you have a lot of resources. So we're going to end this. I really want to thank you for all of your questions, for your time. I want you to know again that we're going to host multiple webinars, and we are also just know that I am here to be a resource for you. Your TSC staff, your coach, the directors are all there to be a resource for you. And again, there is no wrong question to ask, because for you to find your right place, you have to find out. And you're only going to find out by asking questions and asking for help. So again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I do want to put in here that if any of you signed up you had a son who signed up in the earlier one, we did have some technical difficulties in the earlier on the boys side. So a lot of it is the same content, but we are sending an email out of this recorded webinar to everyone who registered for the girls. And then we are also, for the boys who registered, we are sending out a boys link. And so you will get this information. You can refer back to it. And I wish you all the best as you are finishing strong in your high school seasons, and then in the winter and spring beginning to kick off your club season. So I wish all the best. Have a great evening.